Good morning. Let us bow for a word of prayer. Holy Spirit, we come before you today to celebrate and honor one of your servants. To lead a country, to stand before many is not easy. To win elections, to lose elections, to come back over controversy, over opposition, and to stand for the truth is not easy. To serve in season and out of season is not easy. To whom much is given, much is required. And to serve with such excellence is to be commended, is to be honored, is to be celebrated. You have guided the one who's being honored here in the past. Continue to guide him in the present and continue to guide us, that the work that you have begun in Trinidad and here may be complete in due season, in the blessings of your sun and wind, sky and earth, with breezes as our back and your spirits in our heart. May this day be a blessing for all. Amen.
They say amen. Let us stand for the singing of the Star Spangled Banner, the anthem, and the Trinidad and Tobago national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursted in air, give proof to the night that our flag was still there.
You may be seated. What a marvelous voice. Yes. She is one of our students. And we are so proud of her and her willingness to come today to lead us in the two national anthems. At this part of the program, we talk about acknowledging our honored and distinguished guests. One of the things I know as a president, you can get yourself in trouble. So I'm going to ask all the members of the diplomatic corps to please stand. All members of the diplomatic corps. Thank you, thank you. Elected officials, I see Councilman Kendall Stewart. Are there others? And let me just give a thank you very much. Part of our great success here at Medgar grows out of the political support that our elected officials provide to and for us. And Councilman Stewart has been just a great supporter, as has been Councilman Yvette Clark in her former role and now in her new role. So we thank you both for what you do for us. Would members of my cabinet please stand? Thank you very much. I will now ask Dr. Nancy Oley, who is chair of the Medgar Evers College Faculty Senate, to come and to bring greetings, and she will be followed by Ms. Jennifer Levier, president of the Student Government Association here at Medgar Evers College.
President Jackson, members of the dais, honored guests, faculty, staff, and students. I'm extremely pleased to be here today to bring greetings from the faculty at the college. Once an honors student in geology, the Honourable Patrick Manning, now Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, chose to dedicate his life to public service above all. And today we stand in admiration of his outstanding achievements as a national and international leader, an outspoken defender of democratic principles, a humanitarian, and a visionary in the field of energy development. What a wonderful role model for our students. Welcome, Prime Minister Manning.
Dear Honorable Prime Minister, on behalf of the entire student body, we bid you welcome of congratulations. Somewhere I read, a life that serves is more blessed than lips that pray. And today, this institution accords you the highest academic accolade in fitting recognition that your life of service reflects the legacy of the great Black patriot after whom this college was named, Medgar Evers. In his allegory of the metals, Plato suggests quality of life can be measured in denominations of gold, silver, and tin. From where I stand this morning, as the daughter of Trinidad and Tobago, you are a golden in your leadership, passion and sacrifice of the people of your land. You are golden in your commitment to the expense on education. You are golden in your pursuit of regional integration in the Caribbean. Mr. Prime Minister, I consider your integrity in public affairs, your wisdom and discipline of hard work. You are just pure gold through and through. Rightly, you deserve to be regaled with your PhD from this great institution. And as the president of over 5,000 students strong, of whom more than half boast a rich Caribbean heritage, and over 500 and more, 500 of whom claim the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago, with open arms, and I say with open arms, on behalf of the entire student body, we bid you welcome to Medgar Evers and salute you on this moment of acclaim conferral. Herman Hersey has said, "In all beginnings dwell a magic force." As you begin this new chapter in your life, as the Honorable Dr. Patrick Manning, indeed, may the force go with you. Be strong and be courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9.
With a Trinidadian welcome such as that, I don't know whether or not I need to talk about how to introduce this great statesperson. But the truth of the matter is, as our student government president has stated, Medgar Evers College is a great institution and takes enormous pride in the diversity of the students who come here, seeking to improve the quality of life for themselves and their families. Medgar Evers College is that oasis in the desert where people who thirst for knowledge can come and have that thirst quenched. And that is what's so marvelous about what we do here. Because we say that education is the last equalizer left in our society, and we take this responsibility here at Medgar very seriously. Would the faculty members who are here please stand? I see Dr. Elizabeth Nunez, distinguished professor, and Dr. Abalabi, and Dr. Hastic, and so forth and so on. Thank you very much for being here with us today, because without you, we would not have a college. We have a distinguished faculty here at Medgar Evers, and I'm so proud of them. Now, the introduction of our guest and distinguished lecturer for today. As all of you know who've been around Medgar, you know that I have established a presidential lecture series. And what we do is to invite distinguished individuals, both in the United States and abroad, to come and to share with us their thoughts and the journey that they have taken, and to inspire us to go and to do greater work. I'm grateful that our students are here to witness this occasion. Students, would you please stand? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The Honorable Patrick Manning was elected to his third term of office as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago on October 7th, 2002. Mr. Manning entered politics in 1971 at age 24 as the People National Movement PNM candidate for the constituency of San Bernardino. Fernando. Thank you. East. Emerging victorious in the general election of that year. He has won this seat in every general election since tolling 9 victories to date, serving under Prime Minister Dr. Eric Williams and Mr. George Chambers. The young Representative Manning was appointed a parliamentary secretary in the Ministries of Works, Transport, Industry and Commerce, Petroleum and Mines. In 1981, he became the Minister of first the Industry and Commerce and Information Portfolios, then Energy and National Resources. When the PNM lost the general election in 1986, Mr. Manning was one of the 3 PN candidates who retained their seats. He became the leader of the opposition and within 2 months was elected to the post of political leader of the PNM. In 1991, Mr. Manning was elected Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. He lost the general election of 1995, returning to the position of leader of the opposition for the following 6 years. In 2001, when a deadlock arose in the House of Representatives, Mr. Manning was appointed Prime Minister by President Arthur N. R. Robinson. A general election was then held on October 7, 2002, and Mr. Manning again emerged victorious as Prime Minister, and he also serves as the Minister of Finance. He has received his bachelor's degree in special honors in geology at the University of West Indies, Mona, Jamaica. He has extensive experience in the energy industry, and he's highly regarded in the local community for his integrity and his passionate commitment to the needs of the country's social sector. In December 2003, Prime Minister Manning was awarded the Guyana Institute for Democracy Prize for his outstanding work in upholding the principles of democracy in the Caribbean region. He is well respected in the international community for his vision as a new style Caribbean leader committed to Trinidad and Tobago, achieving developed country status on or before the year 2020, and simultaneously contribute to the development of fellow regional states. In December 2004, he was awarded the Caribbean Central American Action's Star of the Caribbean Award for his unwavering support of Caribbean neighbors in their time of distress. Prime Minister Manning is married to the Honourable Senator Hazel Manning, current Minister of Education, and they have 2 sons, Brian and David. We consider it an honor to have in our presence today not only a person who has distinguished himself in terms of leadership, but his passionate for his people, his willingness to do the unthinkable, to dream, in some ways, the impossible dream, and to be not constrained by what might appear, but rather allow his vision of what can be a better Trinidad and Tobago to drive and inform his work and his leadership. We are, and I am so proud because I'm passionate about education. And when I've learned and read about this man's commitment to universal education in Trinidad and Tobago, I am impressed with that alone. Because if you want to really to build a nation, one of the vehicles which you use is education. And that for me, that's honor enough for us to honor him because of that. Because as time goes on, the generations will benefit from this generosity of spirit and commitment to the development of a people. And education is the way in which most nations that have developed have used to develop their people. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us stand and to receive the distinguished great leader of Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Patrick Manning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edison Jackson, President of Medgar Evers College, City University, New York. Members of the Cabinet of Dr. Jackson, members of faculty, Senator the Honourable Hazel Manning, Minister of Education in the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and my charming wife, ladies and gentlemen. A very distinguished ambassador to the United States, Her Excellency Marina Valère, and our ambassador to the United Nations, His Excellency Philip Seeley, and other members of the diplomatic corps. Lady Vice Chairman of the People's National Movement, Ms. Magna Williams-Smith, a member of the leadership. She's here today, and I'm very pleased to see her. Students, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to begin this morning by thanking Almighty God for bringing this great day. As you know, He is the author of all good things, great and small. And it is my pleasure to acknowledge Him and to invite His presence among us this morning. I'd like to thank President Jackson for his very kind words a few minutes ago. And in particular, the president of the Student Government Association, Mrs. Levia. I hope, of course, that I have not devalued the price of gold this morning. My dear friends, there is one thing that all politicians know, and if they don't know it, they ought to know it. And that is that on Palm Sunday, when Jesus Christ rode into Jerusalem, what did the crowd say? They said, Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. 5 days later, the very same people were saying, so that we understand. But then, that is not the whole story. For those who persevere, my dear friends, there is always Easter Sunday and the resurrection. And so, I am here with you this morning, resurrected, I assure. It was not always so. And I wish, first of all, to express my deep gratitude to President Jackson and the administration of Medgar Evers College for this great honor that you are bestowing on me today. Thank you very much, President. I accept, ladies and gentlemen, this honorary doctorate on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I feel particularly privileged to join a growing list of very distinguished individuals who have been similarly recognized by this institution. Let me assure you, my dear friends, that your generosity will further inspire me to continue my service to country and humanity. Since its inception in 1970, Medgar Evers College has been fulfilling its mandate of meeting the educational and social needs of the Central Brooklyn community in particular. This institution continues to be inspired by the ideals of human freedom and social justice espoused by the martyred civil rights leader after whom the college is named. Your emphasis on education for the positive transformation of individuals and the progress and stability of the community and the nation finds profound resonance with progressive peoples throughout the world. I have been listed this morning to speak on the role of Trinidad and Tobago in shaping regional and global affairs, and that, my dear friends, is a story that is worth telling. Indeed, when that story is told, the role that Trinidad and Tobago played, especially in the Grenada intervention, the situation that developed in Grenada following the hurricane, is one that will astound you. In fact, when there was talk in Grenada about a threatened coup, the diplomatic intervention that Trinidad and Tobago made, making it clear to those who might have had a hand in it, that while we had no intentions of intervening in the internal affairs of Grenada, with 231 troops in Grenada, we were unlikely to stand idly by and see a democratically elected government of a CARICOM country removed by undemocratic means. And that put all talk to an end. There will be a time to discuss all of these matters. But with respect, my dear friends, I propose this morning to go in a slightly different direction and to look at the economic paradigm that Trinidad and Tobago has used and to revisit this whole question of globalization. My dear friends, the world continues to grapple with the problem of finding the best way forward for development of all countries, large and small, and for ensuring that all citizens are brought into the mainstream of progress in all societies. The present paradigm, anchored in globalization, notwithstanding its obvious benefits in terms of productivity and efficiency, has already created dangerous imbalances within and among countries. In the midst of tremendous wealth that is being created, the gulf between rich and poor continues to widen. The gross domestic product of the 48 poorest nations is less than the wealth of the 3 richest nations in the world. The few consume too much, and the majority have very little at their disposal. Today, ladies and gentlemen, over 50% of the world population live on less than $2 a day in a world economy generating in excess of $50 trillion annually. That's the reality of the situation. The result is this totally unacceptable situation is mass poverty, spawning the myriad problems of hunger, malnutrition, disease, homelessness, illiteracy, and child labor plaguing billions in the developing and underdeveloped world. Each year, over 8 million people die because they are simply too poor to stay alive. More than 800 million go hungry every day. And each year, over 6 million children die from malnutrition before their 5th birthday, with 30,000 dying each day due to hunger and treatable illnesses. That is the stark reality of the world that faces us at this time. We therefore continue to create the breeding ground for the level of disaffection and desperation that produces criminal activity within and across borders, illegal migration, the pernicious trade in illegal drugs and arms, and increasingly now, even after the failure of communism, the illusion of an ideological solution which is fueling a terrorism with a ferociousness perhaps unprecedented in human history. The failure of the model, my dear friends, in many developing countries has given rise to an adventurism and to left-wing governments, particularly in Latin America at this time. We're seeing the rise of left-wing governments again. And unless something is done about it, it is only a matter of time before that spreads to the African continent. It cannot be far off. The signals are all there. Additionally, my dear friends, competition, the struggle to survive, and the push to produce continue to take a most disastrous toll on the environment, to the point where the very survival of human civilization on this planet is threatened. Even the rational and balanced are now having apocalyptic nightmares. The Washington Consensus, which liberalized trade and production, placing the private sector in the forefront of economic growth and advocated a limited role for the state, has clearly not worked for the benefit of all humanity. It has not worked. There is, my dear friends, another side to this issue. And it exists in small states of limited populations. It is the argument that the supremacy of the market will bring about efficiency, that competition will lead to efficiency and a level of prices in the marketplace that is just and fair. That's how the argument goes. The reality, of course, is very far from that, and particularly in small developing countries. Those who worship the market, therefore, ought to look very closely at the smaller countries of the world, the countries in which the problems are greatest, to see whether, in fact, market forces have given rise to all that have been ascribed to it in the ideology of globalization. Many, my dear friends, say that the world is in straits more dire than ever before, that under the veneer of material progress in the developed world, technological advancement and rampant consumerism, there is a danger which, like a deep-seated volcano, now rumbling close to the surface, is about to explode. It is debatable whether this is an extreme view, but one thing is certain, and it is that the present problems will escalate if we don't put a stop to a degree of selfishness and deliberate myopia that has produced very distorted thinking at the highest levels of global decision-making. How else can we account for the fact, for example, that notwithstanding voluminous rhetoric, years of failure, and growing devastation in many developing countries, we have not yet been able to achieve a fair and free global trading system that would spread development to all parts and help to avert the very disasters that face all of humanity. This one act, my dear friends, so very necessary, could bring tremendous relief to suffering billions, relieve dangerous global tensions, generate an international partnership for dealing with our common problems, and simply make the world a better place for all human beings. According to the World Bank, if the present Doha development round is satisfactorily concluded, 520 billion US dollars could be added to the world economy within 10 years, with most of the benefits going to the poorer countries of the world. As a result of the continuing failure, many understandably question the value of democracy when political leaderships are weakened by special interest groups that benefit from the perpetuation of an unjust and dangerous status quo. The question that constantly surfaces is, how democratic is the international system when we appear to be experiencing a dictatorship of global capital that will not cede even 1 inch of hegemonistic control in the cause of humanity and the salvation of civilization. And so we must also ask, is this very dictatorship driving a callous globalization that refuses to be tempered or harnessed for the benefit of all humanity? These are issues that we cannot avoid if we are to achieve the social justice and human freedom that the late Medgar Wiley Evers espoused. Ladies and gentlemen, we must also face the critical question that pertains very directly to the environment and dangers of global warming. It is already an amazing fact of recent history that in spite of the Kyoto Protocol, some have for many years wasted years, deliberately denied the existence of the threat. Now, at long last, when the evidence is too much before our eyes, we have a slight change of thinking, if not of heart, and there appears to be an emerging global consensus on the need for action. Some already say it is too late, and all we can achieve is mitigation rather than reversal. Yet, we continue to dither while pristine forests burn, glaciers melt, shrinking rivers and threatening water shortages. Severest hurricanes are now a normality, and the sea continues to claim low-lying land in the vulnerable island states of the world. One can only hope that when the United Nations meets at Bali in December, the international community will at least begin the process of achieving a global treaty for the effective protection of our planetary home. It is a hope. Excuse me. My dear friends, in the light of this global scenario, the question that faces us is this: is every country, particularly those of the developing world, notwithstanding sovereignty, helpless victims of a globalization that has been permeating our lives and inexorably driving international development on its own terms and conditions more than ever in these modern times? Whilst there is cause for very grave concern, we in Trinidad and Tobago do not take the pessimistic view that could induce passivity and aggravate an already bad situation. And so I posit to you, therefore, that notwithstanding the larger forces that have moved the world from economic nationalism to deepening international economic cooperation, we, each in our individual countries, retain the fiscal sovereignty and jurisdiction to follow our individual vision within the context of the inescapable global family. It stays within our hands. In other words, my dear friends, we should not see ourselves as victims of larger and superior forces, but that we can still fashion and create our own destiny in our communities and countries. With this approach, we can put to best use the new opportunities and energies which globalization has also already unleashed. My dear friends, I would like to argue that the sustainable development of a country remains in the hands of a government and its people working together. National priorities must continue to be set by each individual society operating within the context of the global family. How you exploit national resources and engender economic growth must depend on your vision and long-term goals for your country. The sound management of your economy is therefore your own inescapable responsibility. Those outside could say what they wish, my dear friends. At the end of the day, it is the responsibility of governments and their people working together to work out and hammer out their own economic destiny, taking into account the peculiar circumstances which they experience. And herein is retained the supremacy of the individual national vision. Let us therefore understand that whilst we accept the macroeconomic and structural reforms necessary to make markets efficient and competitive, whilst we accept that the private sector must play a leading role in generating economic growth and contribute to a sufficient quality of life for the people of our countries, we also know that these by themselves cannot guarantee poverty reduction, long-term job creation, or the general development of society. The point is that the role of the private sector in economic growth in no way reduces the role and function of the public sector. Whilst the private sector is essentially profit-driven, it is the responsibility of the state to ensure the security and stability of the society and the progress and prosperity of all the people. No other way. We therefore need a mix of public and private sector activity and a creative interaction between the two for the generation of sustainable growth. It is not extremes one way or the next. It is a middle road, and in fact, what is required, the pendulum has swung too far to the right. The time has come not for the pendulum to swing too far to the left, as we are seeing beginning to emerge in Latin America and likely to happen in Africa, but to find a place of rest somewhere in the center. That's what we think is the solution. The provision of essential public goods and services, for example, are fundamental requirements in the growth process. These must be provided by the state. These must be provided by the state. And they complement private sector investment and increase its productivity for sustained, balanced economic growth. Herein lies part of the indispensable role to be played by the public sector. Within this framework, the government has a very key role and very clear responsibility. The intervention of the state is therefore absolutely necessary for the balanced and integrated development of any society. That is the bottom line. The intervention of the state is absolutely necessary for the balanced and integrated development of any society. Take, for example, education. No government can escape its obligation to develop a nation's human resource. The invisible hand of the market will not suffice. I therefore return to the mandate and principles of Medgar Evers College, which has, through education, placed the emphasis on the individual for his or her own liberation. This, my dear friends, is at the heart of the issue. In this most imperfect of worlds, you must till your own garden, both individually and collectively, if you are to avoid barrenness and stagnation. It is in your hands. We must therefore start with ourselves, the nation, the individual, the human resource. It is therefore not surprising that there is now universal acceptance of education as indispensable to the sustainable viability of all countries in a global economy that is becoming increasingly knowledge-based. Governments have now placed education right at the top of priorities in the allocation of national resources, and we've done that in Trinidad and Tobago. Priority number one is education. Of all kinds, in all forms, education. In a liberalized economy, it is rightly viewed as one of the major direct interventions and investments that the state must continue to make for the development of the society. In Trinidad and Tobago, since the attainment of independence, we have placed emphasis on education as the means of liberation from the underdevelopment bequeathed to us by our colonial past. We've already achieved universal primary and secondary education and are presently moving to achieve the goal of universal early childhood care and education by the year 2010. It's a tall order. It is a tall order, my dear friends, It requires the construction of 600 preschools, early childhood care and education centers between now and 2010. But it is a goal that we've set. It is a goal to which we will continue to work assiduously. We are presently embarked on the modernization of the education system, reforming the curriculum to ensure relevance and to cater for diverse talents and multiple intelligences, placing the student at the center of the learning process, ensuring the training and ongoing professional development of teachers, improving accountability and productivity through decentralization and school-based management, integrating our schools more and more into the communities which they serve, and deploying information technology for enhanced teaching and learning. We are also placing very significant emphasis on tertiary education and have expanded capacity and improved accessibility to ensure that all our talented young people from all walks of life can be empowered for success in this very competitive world. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we have established the new University of Trinidad and Tobago. That, incidentally, is, in my view, the greatest achievement of the past 6 years in government. And Caribbean Union College has now been converted with governmental support to the University of the Southern Caribbean. And my dear friends, for the past 2 years, we have made university education free for our citizens attending local universities. Attending universities and approved public and private educational institutions. It is not just UWI or UTT or the University of the Southern Caribbean. It includes, my dear friends, the medical faculty of St. George's University in Grenada, it includes the University of the West Indies at Cayville in Barbados, Mona in Jamaica, and in the Bahamas. And it includes a host of private tertiary educational institutions that have sprung up in Trinidad and Tobago at this time in response to the demand for tertiary education. Additionally, ladies and gentlemen, to deal with other expenses like books and accommodation, soft loans are available for the pursuit of higher education through the HELP program. As a result of these policies over the last 5 years, we have witnessed an increase of 300% in enrollment at tertiary institutions in Trinidad and Tobago. When we came to office in 2001, approximately 11% of the relevant cohort were involved in post-secondary and tertiary education. Today, the figure is closer to 35%, and we target 60% by the year 2015. There is another interesting decision that we have taken. Under construction in Port of Spain now and in San Fernando are 2 branches of the Academy for the Performing Arts. They are both signature buildings and have been brought under the ambit of the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Access to those academies, my dear friends, will not be on the basis of academic qualification, but on the basis of talent alone. I am sure, ladies and gentlemen, that advances in education in Trinidad and Tobago will find approval with the community of Medgar Evers College. But I wish to make the point that it is part of a larger effort of government intervention, which we think is absolutely necessary to ensure that none is left behind in Trinidad and Tobago. It is in keeping with our view that for sustained national competitiveness, economic growth, and social stability, the state must continue to be a major agent of economic and social development. You cannot escape the role of the state. You cannot escape it. We also believe, my dear friends, that in addition to education, other interventions by the government are also absolutely necessary. Take training. Large numbers of disadvantaged and disaffected young people, especially in urban areas, constitute a real problem of many modern societies. So many millions the world over have been unable to make it through the formal education system. And these are the ones who eventually become entrapped by deviant behavior, including very serious criminal activity. No government can adopt the laissez-faire approach and hope that the market will eventually sort out this problem. For those who worship the market, this won't happen. Neither wealth nor opportunity produced by market forces percolates downwards to sufficient depth or with enough substance to effect transformation. And such expectations have already entrenched the problem produced by disaffected youth in some countries to the point where it seems unsolvable. We are of the view that it is a problem that can be successfully countered by the state with commitment, patience, the right policy prescriptions, and adequate resources. Therefore, in Trinidad and Tobago, we are presently embarked on a comprehensive program of training and retraining, targeting specifically our young people on the periphery. There is now greater access in our country to technical and vocational education and training than ever before, and we have had close to a 70% increase over the last 5 years. Our goal is to ensure that all our youth can take advantage of the employment and other opportunities for advancement that continue to emerge as a result of our economic policies and programs. Also, as part of our inclusive approach, technical training is being gradually incorporated into the higher education system of the country as we remove the elitism traditionally associated with academia in our country. I don't know what it is like in the... And as we seek, of course, to professionalize the entire workforce of Trinidad and Tobago. We are also placing great emphasis on the artistic, cultural, and sporting abilities of our young people by ensuring both training and the avenue for expression of talent. In the field of health care also, whilst acknowledging individual responsibility for good health, we must also accept the obligation of a government to ensure that the best and affordable health care is available for every citizen of the nation. No country can escape this duty. Indeed, it is a benchmark for the quality of our civilization, and it is therefore not surprising that the matter of health care could be among the two most important issues in the coming presidential contest in this country. As with education and training, we see the provision of the best possible health services as both a social responsibility and an economic necessity. We are seeking to improve this critical area of service to the population. We've been successfully implementing a number of projects at both the national and community levels to provide our citizens with the ability to live longer, healthier, and more productive lives. We have, for example, initiatives like the Chronic Disease Assistance Program, where citizens now receive medicines free of charge for 11 common ailments, including diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, depression, arthritis, glaucoma, asthma, and enlarged prostate. and from which a very significant percentage of our population has already benefited, including me. We have also completely eliminated undue waiting lists for all surgeries and are succeeding in controlling the spread of HIV/AIDS and have already achieved a 50% reduction in deaths caused by this disease. We are now taking healthcare directly to the population throughout the country with mobile clinics now in operation. New technology and equipment have been installed throughout the health system in our country. We have also built or refurbished primary healthcare facilities and are in the process of either building new hospitals or enhancing existing ones throughout the nation. And this includes a state-of-the-art first world cancer treatment center. And that is under construction right now, and to be unveiled shortly, ladies and gentlemen, is an exciting new partnership between the government of Trinidad and Tobago and Johns Hopkins University in health. Under that program, we are going to build a replacement hospital for the Port of Spain General Hospital. Yeah. Which will be established as a teaching hospital under the American system as opposed to the British system. We are building a new hospital under that initiative in central Trinidad, the fastest growing part of the country. And we are putting in proper management arrangements in the San Fernando General Hospital. And we are looking closely at Mount Hope. Mount Hope has special problems. At the same time, my dear friends, centers of excellence are being established, one of which will be research in herbal medicine. It's a very exciting time in Trinidad and Tobago. You can't be more excited than I am, you know. We are also proud to report that we are doing more open heart surgeries, an increase of 400% over the last few years, and free of charge to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And just for the record, as I get a call from time to time from a Caribbean leader who indicates that they need some assistance, somebody needs medical attention in Trinidad and Tobago, we look the other way, my dear friends. They get it free of charge. Yes, we look the other way. Notwithstanding our progress, we also accept that we have some distance to go before we can attain the very high standards we have set ourselves in the provision of health care for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we shall not rest until we have attained our goal. Another of the basic requirements of any civilized society is the provision of shelter for its citizens. This promotes family stability, which is a key element in strengthening the fabric of society. All countries must establish humane housing policies based on quality, affordability, and accessibility. We have recently seen where, left purely up to market forces, a boom in the housing market of a major economy can turn to virtual bust, leaving so many families and credit agencies stranded and with negative ripple effects throughout the global economy. In Trinidad and Tobago, over the last 6 years, the government initiated construction of thousands of housing units. And through mortgage subsidies, manageable financing, and other strategies, we are making these houses accessible to low and middle income earners throughout the country. The result of all of this is that thousands of families who hitherto had no hope of owning their own home can now secure their own shelter and grow up the children in an environment of greater security and stability. I shouldn't leave housing before I tell you this, that our objective is to construct 100,000 new houses in the country in 10 years. 8,000 in the public sector and 2,000 by the private sector. At the latest count, we have completed a construction of 26,000 of them. Over 8,200 are now under construction, and every year there will be 8,000 new housing starts, and it cost us approximately $1.5 billion a year to do that, TT dollars. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. But you want to come home? And we've taken it one step further. You know how Trinidadians are. You have a new house, you want new fridge, new stove, new television set, new microwave oven that you don't know how to use. You want all of that. But what the government has said is this, that instead of going to a hire purchase company, we will make $15,000 available to you to buy all these appliances, and we will add that to the mortgage, amortized over the 25-year period, which is the life of the mortgage. If I have any regret this morning, my dear friends, is that you are not able to vote in the elections coming. The housing program is truly phenomenal. And the final thing I'll tell you about that is that we have now introduced transferability of mortgage, so that even above age 50, you can get a 25-year mortgage. And if, God forbid, you die, then it goes to your estate and your beneficiary just takes it over. Affordability. My dear friends, it is all part of the caring society that we must seek to engender in our societies throughout the world. Governments have an inescapable responsibility to pay special attention to the disadvantaged and vulnerable. It is only the state which can ensure the development of the humane society. In Trinidad and Tobago, my administration has already spent very significant resources in addressing the needs of the vulnerable and socially unprotected. We have alleviated the plight of socially displaced persons, adolescent mothers, and ex-prisoners. We increased the social assistance payments to needy persons, as well as disability grant payments to the differently abled members of our society. It has been the subject of another increase in the budget that has just been concluded. Additionally, my dear friends, we have an effective unemployment relief program, various community initiatives which target the less fortunate and those at risk in society, including women and single mothers, as we seek to improve their skills and income. We've also already increased the minimum wage in Trinidad and Tobago and are always seeking to improve the benefits due to our senior citizens. It is a comprehensive program of caring that only the state can implement. Only the state can do that. Governments also have the responsibility to invest in the physical infrastructure to improve the lives of the citizens and to facilitate economic growth. Roads, highways, bridges, ports and airports, water and electricity supply top the list of those facilities that are indispensable for the modern development of any nation. In fact, we are now in our country embarked on the improvement and expansion of highway infrastructure, the modernization of our points of entry, improved water management, and increased power supply to meet our growing household and industrial needs. Ladies and gentlemen, the next 5 years in Trinidad and Tobago will see the period of the fastest growth that the country has ever seen. In fact, it's going to be phenomenal, the next 5 years. We are, for example, going to embark heavily on new highway construction, doing it by the concessionaire method. That is to say, international contractors in partnership with local contractors will design, they'll design the highway, they'll build it, they will manage it, that's operate it, they will toll it, they will maintain it, and they will transfer it after a period of time back to the state. And by that approach, as you minimize your financial outlay requirements, you are able to accelerate the rate at which you do it. And we will set, it hasn't been announced yet, but it will be announced very shortly. I might as well tell you since you are. We're going to set an 8-year program of highway development. In 8 years' time, you will not recognize Trinidad and Tobago for highways, my dear friends. You won't recognize it. Similar to the New Deal that was done in the United States after the Great Depression of 1929. We also, just for the record, are going to embark on a 10-year program of drainage also. Ladies and gentlemen, in this very competitive world, it is absolutely necessary that a nation's administrative bureaucracy be modernized for greater efficiency and productivity, for quicker decision-making, and to improve delivery of goods and services. And this is particularly true in countries where the state continues to be a major employer and the principal agent for economic and social development. Trinidad and Tobago has embarked on the critical issue of reform to ensure a more customer-driven public service sector. We've been employing strategies for improved management, training of personnel, new business systems, and greater coordination among agencies of the state. We are now implementing a national plan for the fullest possible deployment of information technology in the economic and social development of the country. And we are well on the way to attaining our goal of electronic government, where, among other things, all appropriate government information and services are now coming online. We will continue to need the resources for developmental programs and therefore insist that whilst in this globalized world we become more and more integrated into the world economic system, we retain the right, duty, and responsibility to fashion an economic policy based on our own national aspirations. It is our goal to transform Trinidad and Tobago into a developed country by the year 2020, and all our social and economic policies are geared towards this end. The point is that economic policy must continue to be the responsibility of the individual state. In Trinidad and Tobago, it is based, among other things, on sustainability in the exploitation of natural resources, diversification for strengthening and deepening the productive sectors, employment generation for individual progress, social stability, and increased national wealth, and the encouragement of savings at both the national and individual levels to deal with the uncertainties of the future. We pay special attention to the growth of small and medium enterprises, since these form the effective engine room of economies, large and small, create the most jobs, and ensure that a country's wealth and opportunities permeate all levels of the society, especially the lower rungs of the social and economic ladder. In our view, even at this stage of modern development, the state should not hesitate to engage in direct economic activity, especially where the private sector is either unwilling or unable to do so. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, given our history of colonialism, it was this policy by administrations since independence which ensured the advancement of the ongoing industrialization of Trinidad and Tobago. The government then found it necessary, through state corporations to become directly involved in the energy sector, the petrochemical industries, steel production, the sugar industry, air transport and public services, to name a few of the critical industries, some of which required pioneering and others protecting if we were to make our way in the world whilst ensuring social stability. In the meantime, we incubated the light manufacturing sector through import substitution policies that allowed them to develop the resilience and capacity for the competition that came with liberalization. Here was a perfect example of creativity and dynamism in the partnership between the public and private sectors. It worked because our manufacturing sector is today the most vibrant in our part of the world, thriving amidst intense global competition, earning foreign revenues, generating employment, and contributing significantly to social stability and cohesion. It is a story worth being told, ladies and gentlemen, how from the very start, the mixed economy worked for the sustained development of Trinidad and Tobago. The manufacturing sector, just for the record, the figures for 2006 have recently come out in terms of CARICOM. Trinidad and Tobago is involved in 85% of all CARICOM trade at this time. 85%. And the manufacturing sector is not only competitive, but it is now so large that the CARICOM market is unable to absorb all the output of the domestic manufacturing sector. What it means, my dear friends, what it means is that our local companies have to begin to go global, and they are doing just that. The state eventually withdrew from direct investment in some of the larger industries which are today succeeding even beyond expectations. The fact is, my dear friends, that Trinidad and Tobago today is the largest exporter of ammonia in the world, the largest exporter of methanol in the world, and we are the main supplier of LNG to the eastern seaboard of the United States. In terms of the US economy, last year, Trinidad and Tobago accounted for about 55% of all US imports of ammonia, over 75% of all US imports of methanol, and just under 70% of all US imports of LNG. A few weeks ago, I was in Boston, Massachusetts, talking to some students at MIT. It was a cold morning. And I told them that I was feeling a little chilly and therefore somewhat uncomfortable, but my discomfort is relieved when I take note of the fact that on a cold day in Boston, 70% of the LNG comes from Trinidad and Tobago. So it is worth it. It is worth it. My dear friends, we are now moving to a new wave of industrialization, further downstream of natural gas, to establish a plastics industry through complexes for the production of ethylene and polyethylene, and propylene and polypropylene, and are also establishing facilities for the production of melamine and urea ammonium nitrate, a maleic anhydride processing facility, and an acetic acid plant, as well as plants for the production of aluminium and iron and steel, all of which generate a host of new manufacturing industries in Trinidad and Tobago. We are also strengthening our non-energy sector as well, with new initiatives in printing and packaging, food and beverage, yachting and marine, and the film and entertainment industries. And my dear friends, there is still more. We have embarked on a process of national savings through a Heritage and Stabilization Fund, which has already grown exponentially since it was initiated and will improve our resilience against future uncertainties. In fact, when we came into office, the amount of money in that fund stood at what? 1.015 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. By the end of September, in the next few days, the figure will stand at 12.1 billion. So we're spending and we're saving. Okay? It will also form part, this is the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, of the essential architecture, along with modern financial legislation, a credible regulatory environment, strong economic fundamentals, and substantial inward capital flows for the continuing growth of the financial services sector in Trinidad and Tobago. Indeed, we intend to make our country the major financial hub in the region and are already embarked on the basic steps towards this end. And it might surprise you to hear that the location we are competing against is New York. Don't laugh at it. That is what good governance is all about, seeing the possibilities and working on it. In the United States today, because of the drug situation, it is becoming increasingly difficult to take monies in and take monies out of the United States. The bureaucracy is increasing. And as that happens, companies are beginning to look around to see what are the alternatives to New York. We are in the same time zone. Stand by. Stand by. At the same time, we are embarked on the growth of the information industry with our national ICT plan, which, among other things, will provide ubiquitous broadband coverage in the country as we aim to achieve on-demand availability to at least 80% of our population at internationally competitive rates. We are also now revitalizing and modernizing the agriculture industry, which will now grow by leaps and bounds with our new policy, which involves state involvement not only in terms of facilitation, but in actual production through large farms for both the large-scale production of food and also for pointing the way to what is possible for the deployment of private capital, local and foreign, in agriculture in our country. I have no doubt that once these farms succeed, my dear friends, the government could consider divestment of its holdings as it moves on to other new areas of economic activity in the country. The point is that the government, as the holder of the public purse, is prepared to be sufficiently activist as its pioneers, invests, retreats, and moves on to new uncharted areas, all in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago. It all goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, that in this age of globalization, government intervention through sound vision, investments, and economic policy must play the pivotal role in the sustainable development of the nation. Our economic approach and the success as it has achieved is for us a very good example of how to employ the best of globalization for the welfare of present and future generations. And so, as we conclude, my dear friends, globalization is not a new phenomenon. In fact, it can be argued that the process started in the 19th century when the world economy was already becoming quite integrated and when the communications revolution initiated by the telephone and the telegraph had already shrunk distance between nations. It seems that the concept of the global village has always resided in the human consciousness as mankind has been crossing boundaries and barriers ever since the Bering Straits and onwards. Forces of migration, conquest, exploitation, adventure, and adventurism have all helped to shape our world, and it could be that this present age, with the information revolution and the increasing liberalization of trade and production, is the forerunner to globalization reaching its apogee. The process seems both inescapable and irreversible. The salient, fundamental, critical, and inescapable question is, how do we harness this collective energy for the benefit of every community in the global village of which we are all a part? I think, ladies and gentlemen, that I've made the point that it has to be through a combination of private and public initiative, with governments having the sacred responsibility for vision and leadership in the entire national enterprise. This approach will continue to influence the way we manage the social and economic development of our nation. At the same time, we in Trinidad and Tobago will continue to join with the globalized community for the attainment of a better human civilization, one in which the enlightened approach will see all nations acting in harmony for the benefit of all. I thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. May Almighty God richly bless you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Prime Minister, I would love for you to give a copy of your speech to the presidential candidates who are running for president in the United States of America. And certainly if they would begin to talk about the issues and successes that you have shared with us today, we will become a better nation. And so thank you. Thank you. And for the students in the audience, we can give you credit for Political Science 101, Public Administration 104, Macro and Microeconomics 101 and 102, and Introduction to Ethics 101. I failed to recognize when I was introducing our distinguished guest, Mr. Carl Rodney, who's a great friend of this college and a great person in this community, in this state and nation. State Senator Kevin Parker. And we have he said he's a Trini. Borough President Martin Markowitz's office called and said, could he come to present a proclamation to our distinguished leader? And I said, absolutely. You are, and certainly a great friend and supporter of this college. And everywhere he goes, he talks about being a Trinity, so I couldn't refuse his.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Thank you very, very much. Good to see you. Thank you all very, very much. Now, you knew I had to be here. Now, I keep on saying, I mean, you look at me and you doubt some. But the community of Trinidad and Tobago and Brooklyn know that I'm the highest ranking elected official that proudly proclaims himself a Trini. And I'm not from Port of Spain. I'm from Tunapuna. I just want to see by show of hands how many here this afternoon are Trini to the bone. Let me see. And so therefore, Prime Minister Manning, you know, when you're in Brooklyn, you're also in sweet T&T. Because we are indeed proudly the sweet T&T capital of America, that's for sure. And I must say that as the Prime Minister spoke about housing, I thought to myself, since Brooklyn is the Trinidad and Tobago capital of the United States, that means all of us may indeed be qualified for that wonderful housing program. And just imagine we can have the best of both worlds, Trinidad and Tobago and Brooklyn. We say how sweet it is. Let me just say that the vision, Prime Minister, is just superb. I myself had the honor of visiting your beautiful country and felt that I was in Brooklyn, I must tell you. I met more people from Brooklyn than Trinidad and Tobago when I was there. But really, it's a beautiful country, and I know that we all agree that the better sweet T&T does, the better we all do, and that's for sure. You've been a visionary leader, And it's an honor that you're here, by the way. It's very important for all of us. And so you've been conferred a doctorate degree from Medgar Evers College, which, by the way, is the flagship of the City University. You know that? It's amazing. When you see the success of the City University of New York, do you notice that it began truly with the success of Medgar Evers College? It's true. Really, the Medgar Evers College is on the curve, the cutting edge of the innovative aspirations and success of CUNY, and I really mean that. And certainly Dr. Edison O. Jackson, what a leader he is. And when you put him together with Prime Minister Manning, wow, have you got a duo, I'll tell you. And so first, in your honor, we politicians do that. You do it, I do it. And that is to declare this day the Honorable Patrick Manning, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Recognition Day in Brooklyn, USA. And Dr. Jackson, please. And of course, the official Brooklyn pin. And then I thought of all the great things that Trinidad and Tobago exports that they're known for, some of which you covered, and I know a couple products that you didn't cover. But those are under the heading of libations, but we can discuss that another time. But Brooklyn is known for lots of things, of course. Our great roti. Oh, I'm sorry. Our great bacon shaw. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I'm getting my countries all messed up. But certainly no one has a more beautiful bridge than Brooklyn. Our beloved Brooklyn Bridge. It's an honor to present you with the official bridge. Something else that's cluttered on your desk. Someday there'll be a real Trini in office, I promise you. There'll be more than one, I promise you. Thank you all. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you soon, Prime Minister.
We have a musical selection. He got the whole world in his hands.
My Honourable Prime Minister Patrick Manning, Mrs. Manning, President Jackson, distinguished guests, faculty members, and last but not least, students, good morning and welcome. This is indeed a historical day for Medgar Evers College, and as an alumni of Medgar Evers College, I am so grateful and thankful for being here. I graduated June of 2007 with honors from Medgar Evers College, and thank you. It's an honor being here to see my Prime Minister receiving this degree. In 2003, for those who may not necessarily know, but in 2003, I represented my country at the Miss Universe pageant and came and was a top 10, thank you, and was a top 10 finalist. I did not feel as though that was the end of my life. I felt as though I had to come and get my education. And I came to Medgar Evers College, and that was the best thing I've ever done. And Medgar has always been dear to me, and even though I'm now at the Conservatory of Music at Brooklyn College, I still take Medgar Evers with me. I still take, most importantly, my flag with me, because people still recognize me on the road or wherever I perform. So I continue to raise our flag high. As a past alumni of Medgar Evers College, I would love to dedicate, he's got the whole world in his hands, to my Prime Minister.
got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the woods and the waters in his hand. He's got the woods and the waters in his hands. He's got the sun and the moon right in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the birds and the bees right in his hands. He's got the birds and the bees right in his hand. He's got the beast of the fields right in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got you and me right in his hand. He's got you and me right in his hand. He's got everybody in his hand. He's got the world in his hand. He's got you and me right in his hand. He's got you and me right in his hand. He's got everybody in his hand. He's got the whole in his hand. He's got the whole in his hand.
Ms. Faye Alabokas and Professor Macmillan, thank you very much. Now we've come to, as part of this ceremony, in which we bestow upon this great man the honorary Doctor of Laws degree. I will now ask Dr. Charlotte Phoenix, Senior Vice President and Provost, to come forward to read the citation.
Whereas Patrick A.M. Manning answered the call of leadership at the young age of 24 by becoming the People's National Movement candidate for the constituency of San Fernando East, and thereafter served under 2 prime ministers as parliamentary secretary in ministries ranging from works and transport, industry and commerce, to petroleum and mines. And he became a full-fledged minister in 1981, holding the industry and commerce and information portfolios, then energy and national resources, and in 1986, he became the leader of the opposition and was subsequently elected to the post of political leader of the PNM. And whereas Patrick A.M. Manning has provided strong and outstanding leadership over the course of his 36-year career as a national leader and world statesman, having served his country as Prime Minister, Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, and Minister of Industry and Minister of Commerce. And whereas Patrick A.M. Manning is well respected in the international community for his vision as a new-style Caribbean leader, dedicated to propelling his nation to develop status by 2020, while simultaneously contributing to the development of fellow regional states. And whereas Patrick A.M. Manning has received numerous awards and accolades for his years of service to Trinidad and Tobago, including the Guyana Institute for Democracy Democracy Prize and the Caribbean Central American Action's Star of the Caribbean Award. And whereas Patrick A.M. Manning's tireless dedication to his country has led to a period of unprecedented economic growth and sensitivity, especially in the area of exports, natural gas, and energy production and distribution. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the President, his administration, the faculty, staff, students, alumni, and community council of Medgar Evers College of the City University of New York join in respect and admiration of Patrick A.M. Manning and award him the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, for his commitment, dedication, and determination to make a difference. In witness whereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of Medgar Evers College to be affixed this 26th day of September, 2007. Edison O. Jackson, President.
Just I have to do the last piece. By the powers invested in me as president of Medgar Evers College of the City University of New York, I hereby confer the honorary doctorate of laws, honoris causa, on Patrick A. Manning. Members of the Diplomatic Corps and distinguished guests, faculty, students, and administration, I now present to you Dr. Patrick A. Manning. We've had a great day. You may be seated for a moment. We've had a great day. And Dr. Manning, certainly you have given great credibility to the idea that we have had at Medgar Evers to honor you. And certainly you have done us proud today and in your work that you do. And I simply want to say to you that may God continue to bless you as you go forward. You are what I call the possibility thinker. And certainly we all have benefited from your vision, because in the scriptures say where there is no vision, a people perish. And clearly the Trinidadians and Tobagans will not perish because the vision that you have articulated, not only here today, but throughout your ministry, and I call it a ministry, as the Prime Minister of this great nation. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this ceremony. And would you please remain seated so that we may file out and recess. Thank you very much.